Oh man, what a day. Hello everyone and welcome to Tuesday? It was Tuesday. It was a wild day. I mean, today's vlog is going to very specifically be talking about the games I played in February 2022. It's about First 20. But before I get to that, before I do that, let me say that it was wild. I was up pretty late last night. Just taking care of like odds and ends stuff. I often find that I have like these big things I need to work on in my day-to-day, in my week, and I'll work on them, but I have all these little tiny things and they really need dealt with, and sometimes they don't get dealt with, and that's bad. And last night I was like, I got to deal with this stuff. I really got to deal with this stuff. So I just started sitting down and doing all the tiny little things like emails, things like responses on different platforms that needed like tiny responses, some bills, which should probably be a slightly higher priority, but just little things that have been on my desk. And it's like, you really need to take care of this. I just sat down and did it all. As a result, I went to bed later than I would have liked. So I was a little sleep deprived for breakfast stream. But there was very little rest for the weary after breakfast stream because I took a short nap and then went into First 20 stream. And today was actually super long because after the First 20 stream, we had a quick dinner and then it was time for disc only. So I was on Twitch a lot today. Like, it was a lot. Anyway, let's talk about the games. I played 4 games today and they were all very good and they were all very different. 2 games from Audoodle and 2 games from Jam. First game that we played was Ultra Kill, and as the title implies, it is a ultra violent, ultra gory first-person shooter, retro first-person shooter. It's got like the very extreme POV and everything. The mechanics of the game are just extremely fun. There is no concept of ammunition. And your health is directly tied, like being able to restore health is directly tied to the blood of the enemies. So if you can kill an enemy close up and shower yourself with their blood, or you can punch them and get their blood on you. Again, it's a very violent, gory game. But that's actually how you recover your health. It's also, in the vein of a 90s FPS game. Very fast paced. There's a button to basically kind of do like a quick dash, and you can do it on the ground but also in the air. There's wall jumps. The guns have different alternate fires, including some that are just truly bizarre. There's a gun where you flip a coin, and then if you can manage to shoot the coin out of the air, the coin will ricochet into an enemy and do massive damage. Like, it's just a very stylized game. It knows what it wants to be, and it's doing a good job of it. There's a single player campaign that I was playing a little bit through, but then there's also an endless mode, which was also very fun. So if you're into the retro style FPS games, I know I am very much so. In fact, I was talking today about how much I enjoyed playing through the entirety of Project Warlock, and I played through a lot of Ion Fury. If you like those styles of games, you should really look into Ultra Kill. It's still in early access, but it really good. I don't think I had enough nice things to say about that. It was a good time. Then we moved into something completely different. Partially because folks are getting a little motion sick from Ultra Kill. It's one of those games that's probably be easier to play yourself than watch someone play. We played Carto. Carto is an adorable top-down puzzle game that is very, very reminiscent of the board game Carcassonne. So in Carcassonne, which is a board game that we've always really loved playing, you build a map collectively with other players with these tiles, and you put the tiles anywhere that makes sense visually. So like you can complete roads, you can complete farmland or villages, etc. So like you're placing these tiles. Very similarly, Carto allows you to move the map and rotate the map piece by piece while you're standing on it. And what's so interesting is that that on its own is a cool mechanic, but they also tie it into the story. There's actually a pretty strong narrative that seems to be running through Carto, and those mechanics play into it, where, for instance, early on, you talk to one of the NPCs and they say, oh, there's a character you need to talk to. They live in the forest. And like, you control the map, so you have to take all of the forest tiles and put them all together in one part of the map, so that creates like a really big forest. When you do, that character will appear. It's super clever, it's super cute, and a little bit, heartrending at times. And I really enjoyed what I played. It was nice. That was a really nice game. That'd be a nice game to just chill, and you play in my spare time. Third game was Songs for a Hero, and this is a pretty basic concept. It's just a 2D side-scrolling platformer where you are a brave knight, and you're on your way to the castle to save the princess. Except every single thing you do in the game, the character you're playing as sings about. The entire game is fully voiced, and every little thing you do is, sung about by the character. So like, it's an interesting concept because it's funny and it's extremely self-aware, and it makes it pokes a lot of fun at the tropes of 2D games and just video games in general. And it also serves as a pretty good tutorial. I imagine that most people that are sitting down to play this game aren't going to have a really hard time with it anyway, because it's pretty simplistic. But it's funny because, like, as you're doing things, you don't need any sort of tutorial, because your character is singing about what they're going to do. Like, oh, I need to jump over these rocks. Oh, I need to attack these snakes. It's very clever, and there's the way that the game is working behind the scenes is that there's all these verses that are matched to the background track, and they're playing as you hit certain intervals. So if you wait long enough, there won't be music, there won't be verses being sung. But the game doesn't really want that. There's a lot of verses there. You have to wait for an extremely long amount of time before nothing is being heard. So I think the intent of the game is that for you to play through it and just hear, a song like the entire time. But there's also, special verses that are, waiting for the right moment to show up. For instance, on the time that I did just sit there and wait, and, I didn't, because I was looking to see if maybe the character stopped singing at some point. Well, he did stop singing. And then he started singing about how he wasn't going anywhere, which was very, very funny to me. So, like, it's very cute. I can't imagine that it's probably a terribly long game, but it's very cute. It's a really interesting idea, and some of the folks in chat compared it to the Stanley Parable, which is a really good comparison. I think that's about the closest thing that we have to that game. And it's obviously not a one-to-one, but that's very reminiscent of the same idea, and it was cute. A lot of these games were available on multiple platforms, so if you're interested in any of these, check out the first 20 when they're available, certainly. But then also, just do a little quick Google search, because it may be on the platform that you want to play it on. And then finally, I've had so many requests to play Inscryption. And probably the reason is that it's a deck building game, and it's roguelike. It has a lot of similar feels to like Slay the Spire or some other card games I've played on the channel, and a lot of people wanted me to play it, so today I played it. And I gotta tell you, first thing, sometimes it's very difficult for me to pull myself away from the TCGs I know, i.e. Magic the Gathering. The rules are similar to Magic the Gathering, but they're not the same, and I got tripped up a few times because I was thinking I knew how something worked, and that wasn't how it worked. It's because I had Magic Brain. That being said, the game is super cool. Mechanically, it's sound, but the real thrill of the game is the setting. You are in this creepy cabin playing with this unknown person in the shadows who will kill you. It's like you're a hostage, and the hostage is forcing you to play this card game. It's really, really bizarre, and they kind of take the role of a dungeon master, because they'll roll out this map onto the table, and they're like, pick where you want to go, but they're always in the shadows. So you're playing this game, and then if you lose, they kill you. Like it's a crazy thing. So there's a lot of horror elements, and one of the coolest things, aside from just the lore that's being established, is that you can get up from the table. It's such a cool concept, but it's a whole game going on the table. But in between rounds, if you want, you can get up. You can get up and you can walk around the cabin, and there's all this weird, creepy stuff to interact with. You can't leave because you're locked in, but there's stuff to figure out and explore. So like while I was playing the game, one of the cards started talking to me and was like, that one of the last victims left a note in the rules. So like there's this crazy rule book that has all of the rules in it, and I started, going through the rules, and sure enough, there's a blood-stained code in the rule book. So between one of my rounds, I got up and I opened a safe on the wall, and I unlocked, I guess more cards or whatever. So really, really cool world building, because that sort of thing's not even really necessary. Or maybe it is at this point. Like, these sorts of games are becoming more common. More and more folks have seen the success of games like Slay the Spire, and they're trying to create something very similar because they're inspired by it. And I think maybe one of the problems is we're going to see more and more saturation. So you really need a game that, sets itself apart. And I think Inscryption does a really good job of that, because not only is it mechanically fun, but you got all this crazy, creepy stuff going on, in the background. It kind of reminded me, not mechanically, but it reminded me of how different Slay the Spire was from, I'm not going to remember the name of the game. It was this it reminded me of John Wick, where like everything's black and white and red, and it's a card-based game, and you're in 3D space. I did it on First 20, and I can't remember the name of it right now. But like, again, these are similar concepts. These are deck-building games that, mechanically they function pretty similarly, but they have to set themselves apart in some way. And Inscryption does that in the same way that John Wick-esque game separated itself from Slay the Spire. Anyway, that was a good selection, a really, really good selection of games today. Very, very different, which is my favorite way to do First 20, when we play a variety of games spanning all sorts of genres. And, hopefully folks got a chance to learn about some games that they didn't know about today. And most of those games are fairly recent too, or at least, in terms of like being ported to a new platform or something. So they weren't super, super old, but it also was meaningful because this is the first time I've done First 20 in about 6 weeks, something like that. There haven't been any First 20s on the channel because I've just been, I've been so busy. I've been so busy, and it's been very, very difficult to get to the point of being able to do it because, and this is very key, setting up the new computer, the Streambox. Setting up the Streambox has been very difficult. I've run into countless problems. I have dumped, I bet 50, I wouldn't be surprised if it was 50 hours in January into that box, trying to get it set up, fixed, etc. And it's been a huge headache, and that's 50 hours that I didn't have to dedicate to other things that I should have been doing. First 20 was one of them. It's easy for me to beat myself up sometimes and be like, you didn't get the things done you needed to do. Like, you didn't do First 20. How could you not have done First 20 for a month? Well, you back up and you start looking at everything, and you're like, well, I spent 50 hours troubleshooting the stupid computer, where you only have so much time. Of course you were going to have to drop the ball somewhere, and that's one of the places it got dropped. That being said, we did the stream. It worked. We can do it again. And there's a few little odds and ends things I need to adjust to make it work a little bit better, but it won't take 50 hours to do, so I'm grateful for that. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the stream today. If you were if you were there, it was fun to do. We'll be back with another First 20 stream in the near future. I'm not sure when. There's still a lot on my plate, and there might be some Fridays without First 20s, and if so, I am learning that that's not the end of the world. We can release other content on Friday, so something will be out, and I will get back to doing First 20, when I can. But I like doing it. It's fun for me because I love video games, and very specifically, I like trying new games, especially ones that do interesting things or do them in a new way. And that's one of the reasons why First 20 stream is actually one of my favorite things to do. So I want to keep doing them, but I also got to make sure that I do everything I can to keep my sanity. Otherwise, sanity is important. Okay, I'm done. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, let's meet back tomorrow, shall we?